Welcome to Reaching Out. I'm Gregory Floyd, President Local 237 Teamsters. Our very special guest is Council Member Melissa Mark-Viverito. Councilwoman, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Before we begin, let's tell the audience a little bit about yourself. You were born in Puerto Rico. You were elected in council in 2006. So much has happened between then and now. Can you just tell us about some of your accomplishments?
Well, you know, my district, I love representing my district. I feel very honored to be an elected official. But it's a very challenging district. It's a little bit unique when you look at the geography and when you look at the city council as a whole. There's 51 members, and my district covers 2 boroughs. I represent primarily East Harlem, El Barrio. I represent also part of Mott Haven in the South Bronx, and I also represent the Manhattan Valley area on the Upper West Side. So it cuts a lot of geography and a lot of different distinct communities. So that right there is something to be aware of. So obviously my interest in representing this district is to make sure that all aspects of the district feel included and feel that they're represented and that they have a voice in their elected official. So, you know, my approach has always been very grassroots, being an activist and coming from the labor movement, and making my office very welcoming and very open. So we have office hours into the evening. We have office hours on weekends. We have a very strong platform on working on behalf of youth issues, of senior issues. And as an elected in any legislative body, you have multiple roles, right? You are an advocate and a spokesperson for your community, but you also have to pass legislation. You should also be working actively to make sure that the laws in the city are just and fair for everyone, and also to be providing constituent services. And so we've been able to really, I think, balance that very well. I'm very proud of legislation that we sponsored, taking into account the challenges that we face as elected officials through our constituents, hearing their stories, addressing their needs, and having a vision or overall perspective of what you want to see for the city of New York. You know, you take that with you. So one of the pieces of legislation that I co-sponsored, co-lead sponsored with Councilmember Garodnick was the Tenant Protection Act. And that's been very historic in being able to allow tenants that are being denied essential services and are being harassed to a certain extent to basically be able to sue their landlords in court. So that's something that was not allowed in the past. So we've been just taking those issues and just being very vocal. So it's been a great, I'm now entering my second term, my 6th year in office, and I feel that we've been able to effectively represent all of the constituents in District 8.
You mentioned that you have roots in the union movement. Can you tell us where your roots come from?
Well, I came to New York at the age of 18 to go to college, having graduated from Puerto Rico. And when I graduated college, I decided to work in the community. I wanted to work in the nonprofit sector. So I worked primarily with Latino nonprofit organizations, youth leadership development organizations, very involved in community issues, rallies, mobilizations. And then I came to meet Dennis Rivera, and got to meet 1199 and was brought into the fold. And so it just really kind of was in tune with who I was, being an activist, being an organizer, being able to effectively mobilize on issues of concern. So he brought me into the union, and I was there for several years. And it was from there that I decided to venture into the political world. I was very active in my local community, and people approached me and asked me to consider that. It's not something that I had originally considered, but once I was asked, it then something I did, and I decided to run.
Now, you mentioned being an activist. Just recently, we understand that you participated in a rally for the workers in Wisconsin. Can you tell us about that? And tell us why you participated.
What is happening in Wisconsin is very much a defining moment for this country. And obviously the labor movement is very clear that it's a defining moment for labor as well. But it also has really been able to highlight, you know, the wrong turn that we've been taking as a country, where we continue to really allow corporate greed and corporate interests to control and dominate the public discourse, to dominate the way the government runs to their benefit, to the detriment of the workers, to the detriment of the people that are the working class and the working poor in this country. And I think the line in the sand has been drawn in Wisconsin, where people are saying enough is enough. And we continue to be asked to make the sacrifices, and yet we continue to give so much to the corporate America. So it's really been a galvanizing moment, but it's also very much inspired me. And I believe that we've got to connect the dots, that what is happening in Wisconsin is critical to us here in New York. It's critical to everybody across this nation, and important for us to have an opinion and to talk about it and to make the connections about what is happening in New York City, in New York State. What is this governor proposing? What is this mayor proposing that is going to be detrimental to the unions and to the workers? So I know the labor movement had a great rally on the steps of City Hall last week. And I also know that there was a grassroots mobilization Move On had organized. I also felt it was very important that the elected officials express their solidarity with Wisconsin, to express their solidarity with the elected officials, those 14 Senate Democrats that refuse to be complicit in what it is that Governor Walker is proposing. So we had a great show of support this past Sunday, where we had Congressman Weiner, Congressman Rangel, many of my colleagues in the council, and we also had state electeds there. We had about 20 representatives that showed up and said that we are with Wisconsin. We are one with Wisconsin. To me, it's very unfortunate what is happening and what Governor Walker is proposing, but I also try to do the flip side, and I'm very inspired, and I believe it's a very critical moment for us as a nation. And we're seeing that in Ohio, we're seeing in Indiana and other states where people are really rallying.
I'm Gregory Floyd, President, Local 237 Teamsters. You've been listening to Reaching Out. Our very special guest was Council Member Melissa Mark-Viverito. Thank you.
Thank you.